Lately I've been having these little interactions throughout my day that make me really wonder what it means to be sanctified, but it also shows me what it means to be set apart and to be different. And especially in this generation, everybody always romanticizes being different. Everybody's always claiming that they're different, but then they follow the ways of the world and they end up doing what everybody else does. But what really makes us sanctified and set apart? At first, I felt like I didn't really have the answer to this question, but I've been through these little interactions throughout my life as of recently, and it's really shown me what it means to be sanctified. So, if you don't know, I'm in university and I live on campus, so we have like meal plan cards that we preload before we get to school. And then we basically get to use those meal plan cards, on the food options on campus. And so we have a bunch of money on these cards and nobody ever finishes their money on the card, right? And so I went to, the food cafeteria area one day and I just got myself a tea, and there was this woman in front of me and she had got herself a meal. And she pulled out cash. She pulled out $50 and she's ready to pay for her meal. And the cashier goes, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, we don't take cash." And she goes, "Oh, so what am I supposed to do?" She's like, "If you have debit or credit, you can use that, but we don't take cash." And I could tell that the woman in front of me, either wasn't about to use her credit or her debit or couldn't use it, and that's why she brought her cash. And so she was just kind of standing there. For a second, it was awkward. And then I just walked up and I just paid for her meal, and I was like, "Here you go." And she's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure. I have so much money on this meal plan. I'm not going to finish it all. It doesn't take anything away from me. I'll just pay for your meal. It's not that big of a deal." I know how it feels to be in that situation where you're trying to pay for something and you don't have enough, or you don't have the sufficient funds, and it's you already picked up everything. And so I was like, yeah, whatever. And I didn't think anything of it. And I'm not saying this or telling this story to boost myself up or to make myself seem like a nice person, but the bottom line of this story is I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't even doing it. I don't want this to sound bad, but I wasn't even doing it to be kind. I was kind of just doing it because it's just somebody's in need of help. Let me just help them out. It was just kind of inherent, right? And then I had another situation that happened today where I was going to the cafeteria and I was going to get pizza, and I really wanted this specific sauce, and it was on the counter with a bunch of the sauce was on the counter in a box, and it hadn't been unpacked yet. And so I asked the woman there, and I'm like, "Hey, can I take one of these sauces?" And she goes, "Sure, you can." And then I take one, and then I noticed that she hasn't stocked it in the cooling area yet. So I'm like, "Oh," she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to stock them, but I haven't gotten to it yet." And I'm like, "Oh, that's fine. I can help you stock it." And then I literally just started taking the sauces and putting them in the cooling area. And she was just so shocked. And she's like, "No, please don't do this. You don't have to do it. Thank you so much. This made my day. I'm going to tell my husband about this." And just so grateful that I helped her stock a couple of sauces. Now, I just did that randomly. I'm just what would happen right now if I just stocked these for her? So I just did that randomly, but she was just so overly grateful. And the moral of both of these stories is that people don't expect kindness anymore. People don't expect humans to be human anymore. We have been so used to people being miserable and being overly mean and making excuses for their behavior that people don't expect kindness. And again, I don't tell these stories to boost myself up, because in both of these examples, I really didn't mean anything of it. I wasn't leaving my house with the intention of oh, I want to do something kind for somebody today, or with the intention of I'm gonna make somebody's day. I was literally just doing those things in the spur of the moment. It was super random, but these things made people's day, and they're like, "Oh, this made me feel like good people actually exist." And I'm like, good people actually exist because I had manners, because I helped somebody out. But that's what being sanctified is. When the world does one thing and you do the opposite of that, the world's like, "Why would you do that?" But being sanctified and keeping that childlike spirit is being able to still be kind in the midst of your troubles, being able to still be giving even when you don't have anything, being able to still have manners and say please and thank you even if you're having the worst day of your life. Manners go such a long way. And even if you don't get anything out of it, it makes me feel so good to know that like stuff like that can make people's day, because everybody is just trying their best. And so when I give those examples, I say all that to say, like, being sanctified isn't hard. It's being a good person. It's being who God called you to be. It's showing up as the most authentic version of yourself. In that moment, I could have been scared to even make small talk with her and just been like, oh, yeah, I understand. Can I get this? But in that moment, I'm like, no, let me just be myself. And what would my natural self do? I would help her put those sauces back. I would just be like, it's not a problem. Like, it's closer to me. You would have to get out of behind the counter and go to the front. Like, it's too much. It's rush hour. It's busy. Like, no wonder you haven't had time to do that, right? But so many of us are so self-absorbed, and so many of us are just so caught up in our lives and what's happening that we don't take the time to help anybody anymore. We don't take the time to say please and thank you. And so doing things like that goes such a long way. And that to me is what being sanctified is. It's being able to be set apart. You know, I had a couple people that I was talking to, and they were like, no, like, why would I ever pay for somebody's meal? That's my money. Like, even if I'm not going to use it all, like, that was my money that I loaded into the cart. And that is the problem with society, because that way of thinking is me. What do I benefit? So that person said, even though I loaded a bunch of money onto this card and I'm never going to use it, I'd rather spend it on myself than somebody else. I don't want to give somebody else a free meal. Whereas the way that I think of it is, this money is going to go back to the school either way if I don't finish it, and I know I'm not going to finish it. So why not just buy meals for everybody? And that's the difference between us and the world. We have to learn to keep walking with kindness despite the state of the world. We have to learn to still have manners despite the fact that everybody else is mannerless, right? There's so many times where we want to match energy so bad, and I always hear that on social media, like, I'm gonna match your energy. The biggest one, if you go low, I'll go lower. And all of that's cute and dandy, but then it's not anymore, because it's like, is that who you really are? Is that how you actually want to show up? Maybe to other people it means nothing if you're the bigger person, or if you walk away, or if you decide to be silent, but to yourself and for personal integrity, like, that means everything to me when I'm able to be the bigger person and walk away. So if you needed a reminder to be human and to just show up as the most authentic version of yourself, this is your reminder. And again, you don't have to, you could go out of your way to do kind things for people. That's great. That's awesome. But like, it's just in like who you inherently are, like the small things that you do and the small ways that you show up, and continue to just ask God to use you, like use you in every little part of your life. Like, to me, the little gestures that I did were literally nothing, but to those people, it changed the whole outlook on their day. And so in order for us to be sanctified, we have to show up as a truest version of ourselves and not conform to what the world tells us to do, and not feel the need to go as low as everybody else. When they go low, we rise up higher and show them that we are King's kids, and show them that we are children of God, and show them that we're different. And a lot of people are not going to like different, but the more that you show up as that authentic version of yourself, the more you will find people who are just like you, and you will build that community.